Coming up on Tech News Weekly, Emily Forlini is here, and we kick off the show by talking about how those cookie consent banners might be going away. Then I talk about Amazon settling with the FTC for dark patterns and Amazon Prime subscriptions. Afterwards, Liz Chamberlain of iFixit joins the show. Very excited to talk about the iPhone 17 Pro and Pro Max, the teardown, and TechWoven. Can it be saved from your hot sauce fingers? All of that coming up on Tech News Weekly.
Podcasts you love
from people you trust.
This is TWiT.
This is Tech News Weekly, episode 406, with Emily Forlini and me, Mikah Sargent. Recorded Thursday, September 25th, 2025. iFixit's take on iPhone 17 Scratchgate. Hello and welcome to Tech News Weekly, the show where every week we talk to and about the people making and breaking the tech news. I am your host, Mikah Sargent, and I am joined this week by PC Mag's own Emily Forlini. Welcome back, Emily.
Lovely to be here.
Lovely to have you here with us. For the people who are tuning in for the first time, or perhaps you've been here before, but just need a little reminder, this is the part of the show where we talk about our stories of the week. These are the stories that we found interesting. Sometimes these stories creep up on us early in the week, and sometimes they're late breaking. And so I'm very excited because I do believe this is a story that was written by you, Emily. Is that correct?
Oh, which one? The cookies or the Amazon?
Yours. Yeah.
Yes, this was written by me. So, cookie banners, you visit a website, it pops up. Do you accept all? Do you reject? Do you manage? And it's like this constant choice you have to make about this thing called cookies. Oof. So apparently that comes from a European law from 2009 called the E-Privacy Directive. And I'm like, what was happening in 2009? Do you remember? Like Facebook was still maybe private?
Oh, wow. Yeah, I guess I haven't. Wow. 2009 was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you did have to have at the very least like a college address, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe it had
.edu.
Just changed. Yeah.
Yeah, or it had just
changed. That was a
changed.
long time ago. Wow.
What else? Like people were probably, still making Yahoo email accounts.
Oh, definitely. You had Yahoo email accounts.
Know.
You probably had online, like MySpace sort of blogs where you would go and you'd make your own HTML for the page. And what else would have been going
Tumblr.
on? Yes, we were tumbling. We were maybe getting into posting at least photos online. I don't think video was quite as popular as it is, of course, now. So it was the much earlier web.
Exactly. It was a different time. And so we still have this law, and of course intended for privacy, to protect the user. So, when you do give over your cookies, as they're called, it could be like, personal information about you that could be sold to third parties, or it can be used to customize the ads you see on the page and things like that. So it is personal information. So it makes sense. But now basically that even the EU, restrictive EU as they are saying, I think this might be overkill. I think we're going to reconsider this law, which could get rid of these banners for everyone. And one of their solutions, which I think would be much better, is just that you can set in browser settings just what you want to do on a given web page.
Ooh.
One time. So there were probably tons of details I couldn't even get into, but I don't like cookie banners. I don't know about you. Do you like them?
I hate them.
Yeah.
Because it makes me, I don't want to have to make a choice for every single website I visit. And I don't want to, which is often the case for me, have to make a choice over and over and over again because my browser has protections in place that sort of remove those cookies that are supposed to be saved. And so every time I go there and it thinks I need to go and redo it and answer that question again. And then there's the idea that like you can also hit the X and not have the banner present itself. And that makes it more confusing because then it's like, why am I doing this in the first place if there's an option to sort of opt out of making a choice? It's so weird.
It's so weird. And I just feel like I'm uninformed. I actually realized I get just the tiniest bit of anxiety when I see a cookie banner. I'm like, oh no, am I like gonna get identity theft if I select accept all? But if I select manage, now I have to go comb through all this stuff, and it doesn't really work with the quantity of websites I have to visit for things like journalism, which is super research heavy, or even if you're online shopping, you're going to tons of websites. And you have to make this choice, and it's like, I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm just going to select the thing that gets this banner away the fastest. And it's just kind of ridiculous. So when I saw they're going to reconsider it, I was like, good.
Yeah, I think that there are multiple tools out there that you can download to hide these cookie banners so you never have to see them and interact with them. And I've used a number of these tools before, but the funny thing is they don't always work. And so sometimes you'll still see one pop up and then you're going, okay, what is the exact dance I need to do here to figure out what I am comfortable with, what I'm not comfortable with? And then what ends up happening for me is I don't really care enough to take the time to think all of it through. And so then I'm like, you know what, just it's fine. I'll just say, give me only the necessary cookies. But then I come to find out that one of the pages that is always sort of responsible for this, auto parts websites. And so like an O'Reilly or an Advanced Auto, and annoying to have to every time say, okay, this is my car model, this is my make, this is this. And so let me give you the proper cookies, right, to save this. And then I go back to the page and then it's asking me it again. That doesn't happen all the time, right? I'm not always buying new car parts, but the times that I have, it's annoying. And I'm going, well, maybe this is one of the places where I want to allow for more cookies. But you have 3 different options instead of just 2. And if I choose all 3, is that the one, right, that is going to be the tracking me across different sites? And it's just, it adds more, I think, anxiety than needs to be there. I would argue not just for us as website visitors, but also the main reason we started to see these pop up literally pop up across the web is because companies were just trying to cover their bases. Frankly, it's also why we see a lot of accessibility overlays here in the US, especially, is because companies heard about a company getting sued for not providing the proper accessibility. And from that point on, then everybody said, oh, I need my website to have this. Frankly, that was at the heart of having privacy notices on pages as well, like to have that terms of use and privacy policy. All has to do with just companies avoiding being sued. And so in that way, it's just anytime one of these bits of legislation goes forth, right, this requirement, dozens of companies pop up that just offer, here's how you can get in compliance with this specific ruling or this specific law. And it's always bare minimum, never what you want. And that, I think, is what's particularly frustrating to me. It's just kind of like, you could be doing so much more.
Right. I'm not a fan of things that companies do to kind of cover their own tracks, but don't actually empower me. Like, this has been on all these websites and it's preventing them from getting sued, but I don't actually even really know what I'm doing. Like, an average internet user doesn't know what they're consenting or not consenting to when it pops up. So really, it feels not totally in my interest because it's designed for me to just press accept because I don't want to spend the time to manage and select. So it's really designed for the company to cover its butt while just me still giving over my information. And I don't like that. But I do like some things the EU has given us. My favorite thing ever, which is the iPhone chargers. the EU legislation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that one's a good one.
That one's like too good to be true. I still can't believe that even happened. And now you can charge your iPhone with any cord. Like, thank you, European Union. But this one, the cookie banner, I think has got to go.
I think that, I'm okay with this being set up in the way that it is, the way that they're going with it, right? It seems to make sense, and it at the time provided the proper for the understanding of the web at the time. It provided what was needed. But as the web has advanced, and as browsers have advanced, and as our understanding of the internet has advanced, I think, again, you point out something that is really at the heart of it, which is that it causes confusion and it causes anxiety. And that, I think, is, if there's one thing I could say about the EU, it's that they really do, it does really feel like an organization that aims to focus on sort of the spirit of the law, right? And by that I mean it's about making in these cases the life of its citizens better, and I think that's pretty cool. And I like that the EU looks at, okay, how can these things change over time? How can we make them better? And in that way, it feels forward thinking to make changes as are needed. Yes. So yeah.
Yeah. Also, just when you said that, it made me realize, like, yeah, it was good from the start, but was it good from the start? The word cookies has been confusing people forever. Like, why is it a cookie? Like, I put the Cookie Monster as the photo for my article. Like, just the word cookie, I don't think there's different types of them. There's the one that stores your password, but then there's the one that stores some demographic data and sells it to who knows where. I mean, the whole thing, now that I think about it, has actually been quite confusing for the average person from the beginning. So privacy, good. Confusing banners that talk about baked goods, bad.
Well put. All right. We are going to take a quick break so I can tell you about our first sponsor before we come back with my story of the week that has a late breaking component. So pretty exciting there. I was talking to Emily this morning and said, this is going to be my story. Emily said, there's more to it. And quickly kind of shifted. So let me tell you, though, first about Starlight Hyperlift, bringing you this episode of Tech News Weekly. That is an exciting name. Starlight Hyperlift, which is Spaceship's new cloud deployment platform for launching containerized apps with zero infrastructure headaches. You can go from code to cloud fast with GitHub-based deployments, real-time logs, and pay-as-you-go pricing. No servers, no YAML files to worry about, no DevOps, just your project in the cloud in seconds. You've probably already heard us mention Spaceship. They're a domain and web platform that simplifies choosing, purchasing, and managing domain names and web products, including hosting. I talked about how I was able to, during the call with the folks at Spaceship, set up a Spaceship domain in no time and even get a WordPress blog up and running while we were having the conversation. It was very easy to do. With Hyperlift now, Spaceship takes that same philosophy and brings it to cloud-native deployment. It's made for devs, indie hackers, and innovators who need to test fast, iterate faster, and ship smarter. Go to spaceship.com/twit to find more info about Starlight Hyperlift and get custom deals on Spaceship products. That's spaceship.com/twit. And we thank Spaceship for sponsoring this week's episode of Tech News Weekly. All right, back from the break, joined this week by Emily Forlini of PC Mag. And let's talk about what's going on with Amazon, because Amazon has agreed to pay arguably a staggering $2.5 billion settlement with the Federal Trade Commission. This comes just days into what was expected to be a month-long civil trial over allegations that the e-commerce giant deliberately tricked customers into signing up for Prime subscriptions and made cancellation unnecessarily difficult. The settlement, which includes a $1 billion civil penalty, the largest in FTC history by my reckoning, and a $1.5 billion consumer refund fund represents a significant moment of accountability for one of the world's most valuable companies. Now, beyond the financial implications, Amazon will be required to fundamentally redesign its Prime subscription interface, including creating what the FTC calls, and I'll add a finally here, finally, a simple way to cancel. This resolution comes after years of investigation that began during the first Trump administration and intensified under FTC Chair Lina Khan, marking a rare instance where a tech giant has chosen to settle rather than do what we've seen so many times before, fighting allegations and sort of dragging on cases. But instead chose to settle instead of dealing with this allegation of using manipulative design practices against its own customers. Now, let's talk about the kind of financial components of this because, again, $2.5 billion, that's a whole lot of cash, and it's split up, as I said, between these two areas, the $1 billion civil penalty and the $1.5 billion fund that will pay back consumers who were allegedly deceived into Prime memberships. We'll have to see kind of how that part plays out, who will all be involved in this huge settlement and whether people who continue to have a Prime membership are or aren't, when you got your Prime membership, that kind of thing. And also Amazon having to work to now change its interface so you can change your subscription very easily. Something kind of wild. The way that they were able to argue this, one way at least, is that the FTC put forth the evidence around what regulators call dark patterns. We know these to be the way that you kind of go to a website and you follow, and it kind of misleads you about what decisions you're making and those that you mean to make and those that you don't. So making it simpler to subscribe than it is to unsubscribe, or making you call to unsubscribe, but then you also have to wait for an email to come in that says, are you sure you want to unsubscribe? And then you have to follow through with that. All those different practices of just making it difficult. According to the FTC's trial brief, Amazon employees internally described the enrollment issues as an unspoken cancer because fixing the clarity problems would lead to a drop in subscribers. This internal acknowledgement became a key piece of evidence suggesting that Amazon knew about the deceptive nature of its practices. And by the way, what did they call the unsubscription process? They called it the Iliad flow. So people familiar with good old Homer will know about the Iliad and the Odyssey and this huge journey that is a 4-page, 6-click, 15-option journey required to cancel a Prime membership. So it sounds like the FTC had a pretty good case, Emily. I'm interested that the company chose to just settle out, and what I've seen is that analysts are suggesting that a big part of why could be because this was a trial case instead of a jury case instead of just involving a judge making decisions.
Yeah, I don't know, because it happened quickly. So the article you sent me from NPR was just 2 days ago, and it said they're going to trial. And then I woke up today and I had an email from the FTC to my inbox. We settled. Like, oh, okay. What happened in the past 2 days? Some serious crap went down. Inboxes were flowing, phones were ringing. I don't know what, but it is big. And I think one thing that's really cool is they actually named 2 Amazon executives in the FTC press release, and they said they charged them as well. So it's not just this generic Amazon, which is massive, one of the biggest employers in the US. They named 2 guys, Neil, and actually the other guy's name is, I think, Jamil, so they rhyme. And they named these 2 guys who are an SVP and a VP. And I think that really sends a message to executives who are in meetings at these companies who are approving business directions like these guys were, based on their titles. And it's saying, you can't hide under the cover of this organization. Like, you as an individual, if you greenlit this strategy, if you signed off, you will also be named publicly as someone who deceived customers, which is huge.
That's a good point. Yeah, that adds even more to it because that's going to follow you, right? And people will see you directly and know that this is part of it.
They didn't say what's happening to those guys, though. They just because there's the 1 million civil penalty, the 1.5 to customers, and then it's just also these two guys. So it's like I don't know. It's certainly a reputation killer, but. Yeah.
But they at the very least name, and we'll see about shame. Amazon did argue at the beginning that the law, the FTC law doesn't specifically define dark patterns. And so it was kind of the FTC painting with a broad paintbrush. And in that way, it was not fair to accuse Amazon of using dark patterns. The company claimed that evidence of, quote, a small percentage of customers misunderstanding Prime enrollment or cancellation didn't prove legal violations. One of the things, though, that was in this case that I think perhaps resulted in some kind of bad blood, Judge Chun, who was set to be the judge on this and is working with the larger FTC case with Amazon, admonished Amazon's lawyers in July for what he said was conduct tantamount to bad faith, because according to the judge, Amazon had hidden potentially incriminating evidence by improperly marking documents as privileged and then withdrawing almost all of the privileged claims on the documents and producing 70,000 documents at the last minute. So sort of overloading the court with a bunch of documents, and then also saying originally that these were privileged documents that couldn't be shared elsewhere, but then it just confusion and mess, and all of that is something that the judge considers to be kind of trying to cause tumult to make it more difficult to make a ruling here. Now, there was a Pennsylvania State University law professor who said the question is, when design crosses the line into a situation where a reasonable consumer does not have a fair shot of understanding what's going on. So again, this is kind of trying to define what a dark pattern is, what this means for the subscription economy. Ultimately, for me, what I hope happens is the promise that we've heard, I think it was from the FCC, not the FTC, that we would have a click to cancel sort of mandate across the web. That would be wonderful. I would love to have that. I think that that is how things should be. And I think that it is good that we're seeing companies have to answer for these. A company, of course, is going to say, what's a dark pattern? I don't know what a dark pattern is. You can't just say dark pattern. And this also feels like an earlier ruling from, I believe, the FCC, where they said, you know it when you see it. Anyone who knows what I'm talking about there, if you know, you know. And this also falls, as far as I'm concerned, into that you know it when you see it. Or I guess you know it when you don't see it, because that's
there's an example. So one example that the FTC listed was their button to decline a Prime subscription at checkout said, no, I don't want free shipping. Do you know what I mean? Do you catch that?
Oh, yeah. No, so, I don't want free shipping.
Right.
Yeah.
So everyone wants free shipping. So if you're not paying attention, you might click, yes, I want free shipping. And then all of a sudden you've enrolled in Prime and you don't know that it's going to renew. You don't know you just spent money, or maybe there was some fine print, or it was just confusing. So that's one thing that they talked about. So it could be a deceptive enrollment practice. Now you're in Prime, and also you don't know how to cancel, and you didn't even sign up properly. So you're like, where do I even go to cancel? I don't even know where I signed up. So part of what Amazon has to do is make it very clear where you sign up, and also have the cancellation be in the same place. So you just go back and do that, which sounds so simple. Like, how is that? This is the big conclusion, but that's it. So, I mean, there's a couple different actions Amazon has to do. One is to hire a third-party auditor to basically babysit them and make sure that they do it. And Amazon has to pay for it.
And I think that, again, that's good.
Yeah.
I want this. But I want ultimately for me, it's about making people aware of the things that they're signing up for. The New York Times got in trouble for resubscribing people to the subscription, like believe it was the paper subscription. And you basically had signed up for a certain amount of time, and it should have been that after that, you at least got prompted, hey, do you want to cancel this? And so I ended up actually being affected by that. I had gotten New York Times physical paper subscription for a while, and I remember that I had expected it was going to be, whatever I did, 6 months, right? And I had set it up with an email address that it was part of a domain that I decided not to keep and forgot that this was part of it, right? So later I got this letter in the mail, and it was from a collections company, and it was like, you owe the New York Times $54.
What?
And only $54, and you sent it to collections? Come on. And then later on, I ended up, it was part of that, class action settlement or whatever, and they ended up paying me for what I had technically owed them, which was good. But yeah, that really, that was not great. And I don't think that it's good for any company to be doing these kind of dark practices. One that seems to be able to kind of go through, I don't know if you've seen this. Certainly I have. You put something in your cart and it says it's in 15 other people's cart right now. And then it also will say there are only 1 or 2 left. So you need to hop on it before another person gets it. I look at that every time and go, okay, yeah, I definitely believe that. And then, a lot of the time, it sits in my cart for a while, and then I decide, okay, yeah, I want to get this thing, and it's in stock. And I don't believe it whenever that sense of urgency I feel is fake for sure.
Yes, that's a really good one. Actually, you should do that lawsuit next.
Yeah, I'm gonna hop on it. Absolutely. So here we're going to see kind of how things play out with Amazon going forward as it hires this outside watchdog to focus on these changes. I'll be interested to see how because I do have a subscription to Amazon Prime. I'll be interested to see how that changes if I start getting emails like, hey, your Prime's about to renew. Are you sure you want to do this?
Right.
Or how easy
or if you get money.
Yeah, or if I get some more money.
Who's going to get some money? It'll probably be $6.
Exactly.
Like they're so anticlimactic.
Yeah, the number of people involved with that have Amazon Prime subscriptions is so high, and there's always a subset that end up doing the class action, but still, it's I imagine it won't be very much money.
So that you're not going to be able to buy a new house with your Amazon Prime.
Darn it!
You might be able to buy a sandwich, maybe at a fancy
at
sub
a Whole
shop.
Foods. Let's hope not Whole
Foods. At an Amazon Whole Foods.
Right, back to Amazon.
Perfect. Just buy something on Amazon with it.
They'll offer an Amazon gift card. No,
right. It'll be like rebate to your account. You'll be like, why not?
Go toward my next Amazon Prime renewal. Emily Forlini, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. If people would like to follow you online and check out all the great work you're doing, listen to your other show or shows, where should they go to do that?
So you can find me on all the socials. Emily Forlini is the name. It's not too hard. And then of course at my PC Mag bio, you can see all my recent work. And then you can get a little more personality about my work on my podcast, Super Intelligent Podcast, which we record over the weekends. So that's a fun one while you're folding laundry. So check that out.
Awesome. Thank you, Emily. We appreciate it. All righty, folks, we're going to take a quick break before we come back with a really interesting story or set of stories regarding the new phones and iFixit's hands-on. Before that, though, let me tell you about Smarty, bringing you this episode of Tech News Weekly. This is Smarty. Discover what's possible when address data works for you. Smarty is revolutionizing how you handle address information, bringing automation, speed, and accuracy to processes that used to be manual, error-prone, and, well, frustrating. With Smarty's cloud-based address validation APIs, you can instantly check and correct addresses in real time. No more bad data, compliance risks, undeliverable mail, or costly delays. Add autocomplete to your web forms so your customers select valid, verified addresses as they type. This will improve their user experience and yield much better data for you. Companies like Fabletics have drastically increased conversion rates for new customers, especially internationally, with Smarty. If you want more than just clean addresses, well, Smarty's property data API unlocks 350 plus insights on every address, from square footage to tax history, automatically enriching your database. It's incredibly fast, 25,000 plus addresses per second, and very easy to integrate. The Red Cross needed accurate address data to allocate resources. A project manager says, the Smarty tool has been fundamental. I've never experienced any issues with the tools, and they seem to be getting better all the time. The address verification really does make an impact. We're able to reach the communities we serve because we have good addresses. Smarty is a 2025 award winner as well across many G2 categories: best results, best usability, users most likely to recommend, and high performer for small businesses. Smarty is also USPS, CASS, and SOC 2 certified and HIPAA compliant. Whether you're building your first form or modernizing an entire platform, Smarty gives you the tools to do it smarter. Try it yourself. Get 1,000 free lookups when you sign up for a 42-day free trial. Visit smarty.com/twit to learn more. That's smarty.com/twit. Thank you, Smarty, for sponsoring this week's episode of Tech News Weekly. All right, we are back from the break, and I'm so excited about our next guest, Liz Chamberlain from iFixit. Welcome.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Yeah, so as always, was very excited, sort of refreshing the iFixit page as everything was coming through with Apple's iPhones this year, and very excited when boop up popped some teardown magic. And so I wanted to start by talking about the iPhone 17 Pro Max situation, because during that teardown, you discuss the durability issue with the iPhone 17 Pro's camera plateau. We've heard reviewers call it Scratchgate. I was hoping you could kind of walk us through what's actually happening when these phones get scratched and why that camera bump or the edges of that camera bump are particularly vulnerable.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you may have heard, Apple switched from titanium to aluminum in the construction of most of their phones at this point. And they have anodized that aluminum, which means that they dip it in an electrochemical bath to build a layer of fancy corrosion, basically. And what people have been noticing is that corrosion, that anodization layer, kind of scratches away more easily than it probably should. And it's worst at the edges of the camera bump. So Zach over at Jerry Rig Everything showed that, the scratches on the body of the phone weren't that significant, but right at the edge of the camera bump, stuff was really flaking away. So we knew we wanted to look closely at that, and that's what we did in the teardown.
Yeah, and I think, every year you kind of are wondering what the gate is going to be, and also, at least for me, sort of trying to sort out what might be an individual's experience versus what might be something that a lot of people experience. And it's hard because you are quickly looking at what's happening right away, but then you want to wait a little bit to see what else is coming through. And that's one of the things I really appreciate about iFixit is you can dig in and do the research to kind of say, okay, here's what we're seeing and here's why, even if you maybe haven't seen a lot of instances of it, or if you've seen plenty of instances of it, why this might be at the root of it. I mean, you brought in the material scientist to help investigate the scratching problem. What did that analysis reveal about the anodization process? And if so, could there have been some changes made to reduce the opportunities for Scratchgate?
Yeah. So we brought in David Niebuhr, who runs Niebuhr Metallurgical Engineering, and he also teaches at Cal Poly, which is the university down the road from us. And he came in and helped us run some scratch tests to make sure that we were doing it right from a materials science perspective. And he told us that at edges, anodization doesn't work as well. So at sharp edges, basically the anodization layer is supported only by the rest of the anodized material. So instead of being the stronger aluminum underneath and the anodizing on top, where they can sort of deform together, at edges, sharp edges, like at the edge of the camera plateau, the anodizing flakes away. And he said that's called spalling. And we were seeing it at the edges of the camera plateau and not on the back of the phone. So anywhere that, the anodizing was applied flat or applied on a smooth edge, it seemed to hold up relatively well. But at that sharp edge, at the edge of the camera plateau, it would flake. And David Niebuhr said that Apple could have prevented it by having basically a smoother edge to the camera plateau. So if it wasn't as sharp, it wouldn't be doing this.
That is interesting. So in that way, it kind of feels like a design decision that is in this way, sort of looking at something that looks nice. It's form over function in this situation, which is perhaps something Apple has been accused of in the past.
Once or twice.
So moving from durability to repairability, the iPhone 17 Pro introduces something that we, as far as I know, hopefully you can confirm, have never seen in an iPhone before. A screwed-in battery. It also resulted in me reading a whole lot about Torx Plus because there are 14 Torx Plus screws in this. What is the significance of this change? And especially for, an everyday user who doesn't nerd out about Torx Plus as much as I do, who just might need a battery replacement.
Totally. Yeah. So we've been saying for a long time that batteries can be screwed in, that we don't have to have these, crazy glues that are challenging for people and leave residue and mean you have to get new glue, new adhesive to be able to do a battery repair. And Apple has proven it. You can change this battery with just a screwdriver. You don't have to release the adhesive, which is, it's a huge deal for repair in the sense that, it really simplifies things. It makes it a lot more repeatable. And, as excited as we were to see the electrically debonding adhesive where you apply 9 to 12 volts and it releases over a period of time. It's cool, really exciting from a nerd perspective. But again, a lot of people are kind of intimidated by that. I think a screwdriver is a lot less intimidating. And we don't know yet. Apple hasn't released parts yet, so we don't know for sure if they're going to sell just the battery and tell people to use the same electrically debonding process they used before, or if they're going to sell it with the frame. But their official repair manual for the 17 Pro shows removing the whole tray, so doing it with the screws. So it seems like they probably will sell the battery attached to the tray.
Ooh, interesting. Well, we'll have to see how that goes. The iPhone Air, so moving from the Pro and Pro Max, is in theory, Apple says it's its thinnest iPhone ever at 5.6 millimeters. Yet, interestingly, it did receive the same repairability score, tentative repairability score, as the thicker Pro model. And some thought that in the rumors leading up to this, I heard it time and time again. Oh, well, that one's going to be a nightmare. That one's going to be a nightmare. However, taking it apart, interesting that it got that 7 as well. How does making a phone thinner in this case actually help with repairability?
Yeah, I mean, as you said, we were scared when we first heard about the Air. Like, oh gosh, it's gonna be a bear. And it wasn't. We were really excited to see that a bunch of the repair-friendly things that Apple has been doing in iPhone designs in the last few years were all in the Air. So it has a dual entry design, so you can open it from the front or the back, meaning that you can replace a battery without having to go through the display, which is huge. And because it's thinner, it's you open that back panel and you can basically see all the components that you might want to repair. Things are not stacked up on top of each other, and to do that and do it well requires some really clever use of the space, and Apple has done that. So the logic board is pushed up above the battery, and then the camera plateau is up above that. But for the most part, components don't get in the way of each other, and that's it's possible with thin design. It's challenging, but we're excited to see that that's the reality in the Air.
Yeah, and I mean, people were kind of initially a little bit upset, it seemed, that the MagSafe battery pack that Apple introduced was specific to the iPhone Air, and that you couldn't really use it with any of the other phones, save for plugging it in and using it like a USB-C kind of battery pack.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about what you learned about the MagSafe battery pack, and perhaps why it pairs so well?
So we got our hands on a MagSafe battery pack a couple days before the iPhone release, and we couldn't help tearing it apart, of course, because we're iFixit and that's what we do. And we realized when we opened it up that it had this weird shape, and we guessed, is this the same battery that we're going to see in the Air? Because it had the cutout that looked like it was making room for the logic board. And sure enough, when we took apart the iPhone Air, immediately we had the batteries side by side on the teardown table, and it was obvious. They were exactly the same size and shape. They had all the same markings on them. And sure enough, when we put the battery pack from the MagSafe battery pack into the Air, we were able to boot. We were able to run Repair Assistant, and it's the same battery. It's exactly the same.
Wow, that's really cool. Another interesting component of this, Apple appears to be using 3D printing technology for the USB-C port housing in the iPhone Air. You looked at that under a microscope. What did you observe about this, and why might Apple be turning to this additive manufacturing process for these components?
Yeah. So we passed it to some material scientists we know, people working in 3D printing, and they say it doesn't quite look like any metal 3D printing they've seen before. It's a little bit different in structure. We're not material scientists, so we're still having a lot of conversations with them about what exactly that means and what we're seeing and what we can say definitively about the process that Apple's using here. But it seems like it might be related to some patents that they inherited in metal 3D printing back in 2015. But we're still sort of digging into it. The best guess I've heard about why they're doing this, in this case, both for the USB-C port, which is 3D printed in the Air, and then also for the case of the Ultra 3, the Apple Watch. Best guess is that titanium has some geopolitical challenges. My understanding is that most of the titanium that we source is through Russia, and that has become more challenging to obtain, more expensive. And so that's our best guess.
Interesting. That adds a whole nother wrinkle to an aluminum unibody design for the iPhone being sold as this sort of, it's better at heat dissipation and this and that and the other. Is it, or could you just not get the titanium? Anyway, we'll have to ponder that. But I wanted to mention that both of these phones scored 7 out of 10 for repairability, despite having very different internal and, of course, external designs. So can you tell us just a little bit about what earned them that score? And then I'm always curious to hear, what could Apple do better to get an even higher score?
Yeah. Well, I mean, so first of all, one of the biggest things that we're looking for is, are parts available? And Apple has promised yes. Are repair manuals available? They are. Day one, we're so excited still to see day one repair manuals for things Apple's putting out. Then looking at repairable design, obviously there were a lot of different choices in the Air and the Pro. And we were disappointed in the Pro in that it lost the dual entry design. That means you don't have to go through the screen to get to most things. Excited to see that in the air. But the Pro brought this screwed in battery, which is huge. And still, even though you have to go through the screen, the main thing we're looking at is how long does it take you to do a repair? And still, through clever use of space and through modular design, the vast majority of things you would want to replace in the Pro are still modular and relatively easy to access without being buried under other components. So, when we say that Apple has been improving their attention to repairability and design, that's really what we're talking about. That they're making it so that parts don't bury other parts. You can replace parts when you need to. And it, even though there are some different choices in the two designs of the phone, they both seem to be keeping repair in mind.
Absolutely. All right. That is what I wanted to ask you about the 17 lineup and teardowns there. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to talk about the current state of the woven accessories from Apple. Stay tuned. All right, we are back with Liz Chamberlain of iFixit, who is here to tell us now about FineWoven versus TechWoven. Thank you again for your time today, Liz.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, so let's start with this. I would love to hear kind of what prompted the iFixit team to do such a deep dive into Apple's new TechWoven cases and comparing it to the FineWoven of yesteryear.
Yeah, so 2 years ago, Apple came out with this new material they were calling FineWoven, which was supposed to replace their leather case lineup with the goal of, using more recycled materials and moving away from animal materials in their cases. And so it was supposed to be sort of a premium feel fabric material that would also be durable and also provide protection for the phone. And we had our microscope from our friends at Evident. We wanted to take a look closely at this material, see what was happening. And we figured we'd put it through some tests. And so we put oil on it and coffee and hot sauce and looked closely at what happened when we did that. And embarrassingly, the case could not handle greasy fingers, could not handle hot sauce fingers. Basically everything would stain it and would get deep into these fibers, and even with rubbing with isopropyl alcohol and cleaning it in various ways, it would not come back. And so this case that you're showing here is our tech writer Arthur. His wife bought a used iPhone 15 Pro, and it came with a FineWoven case, and it does not look very good after a couple of years of use.
Gross.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so gross. And so this is what's interesting. I ran my fingers across the newer TechWoven, and what did I do? I did one other thing where I could sort of look closer at the fabrics, but that was the extent of my analysis of it. Your team did a microscopic analysis. Can you tell us about the key differences between the TechWoven and FineWoven, between those thread structures and the coating?
Yeah. So there are two major things that are different about TechWoven from FineWoven. One is the fibers themselves are bigger. So we've got some pictures of the same magnification, and you can see that the strands themselves are bigger than the FineWoven in the TechWoven. Also, it's got this coating that, some kind of resin coating that's over the top of the fibers that keeps things from soaking into it. And what we found is that it's pretty effective for the vast majority of the case. Like we tried the same test. We put oil and hot sauce and coffee and even nigiri on it, and we were able to wipe off the residue. It did a pretty good job of handling that.
Now, while it did do a better job than the case, again, the FineWoven case, your team did discover that there were some vulnerabilities at the edges and also vulnerabilities when physical damage was involved. Can you talk about the significance of these sort of weak points for the everyday user who, puts a case on a phone so that it can, be protected.
Totally. Yeah. Well, so with FineWoven, we were able to scratch it with keys, which is also frightening. Most people keep their phone near their keys at some point. This time, TechWoven, we couldn't scratch with keys, but we could scratch with a knife. We were partnering with Zach from Jerry Rig Everything, and we used his knife on it. And sure enough, we were able to scratch it with a knife. And when we did that, the fibers stopped being as well protected from coffee and oil and so on, and stuff would seep into it. So it seems like once you breach that protective resin layer on top, the case doesn't do as good a job at stopping things from staining it. And we saw the same thing at the edges of the case, less dramatically, but it seems like at the edge where the fibers kind of poke through the resin, they're more vulnerable to getting damaged
almost
by
like
oil
wicking.
and coffee. Yeah, exactly. It seems like there's some wicking.
Now, the question I kind of have with this is, the article says that it feels less like fabric than FineWoven and more like textured plastic. In looking at this, can you tell us, is this an overall improvement to durability by kind of foregoing that fabric feel, or does it kind of defeat the purpose of having a case made of textile that is meant to replace leather in the first place?
Yeah, so we haven't done any durability tests in the sense of, if you drop your phone, how well does the case do? And that's really the main reason people put cases on phones, especially phones as pretty as iPhones. And so we can't really say how well this case will hold up, or if there are differences in how FineWoven and TechWoven handle drops. But at least durability wise, it seems like this is cosmetically, this is better than FineWoven. So you're less likely to stain your case with hot sauce fingers. That's what we can say.
Yes. So if you're a big hot sauce fan, perhaps this was a little bit better for you. Unless you're also a big utility knife fan, in which case maybe it's not so great. Based on your team's findings, what advice would you give to consumers trying to decide between TechWoven and other case options, especially those who experienced those FineWoven issues firsthand?
Yeah, I'd say if you were happy with your FineWoven case other than the hot sauce finger problem, then TechWoven might be a good option for you. And otherwise, I think it's probably not as likely to hold up well as a case that's fully sealed. Those edges worry me. I wouldn't personally buy a TechWoven case at this point.
Well, Liz, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. There's lots more information, but I think even cooler and better, lots of photos and interactive components over on iFixit's website. We'll have links in the show notes to the articles. Thank you for being here. If people would like to keep up to date with what you and the team are doing, where are the places they should go to do that?
So we're on YouTube as iFixit Yourself, and every other social media platform as iFixit, or of course at iFixit.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And with that, we have reached the end of this episode of Tech News Weekly. Of course, you can check out the show each week and subscribe at twit.tv/TNW. That's where you go to get the audio and video versions of our show. I talked about it during the episode, but just a quick reminder again, twit.tv/clubtwit. That's where you go to become a member of the club. $10 a month, $120 a year, and so many awesome benefits. If you'd like to follow me online, I'm at Mikah Sargent on many a social media network, or you can head to chihuahua.coffee. That's CHIHUAHUA.coffee, where I've got links to the places I'm most active online. Be sure to check those out. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll be back again next week with another episode of Tech News Weekly. Bye-bye.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to TWiT, your tech hub for intelligent, thoughtful conversations. If you want to take your experience to the next level and support what we do here at TWiT, say goodbye to ads and say hello to Club TWiT. With Club TWiT, you unlock all our shows ad-free. You also get exclusive members-only content, We do a lot of great programming just for the club members. You also get behind-the-scenes access with our TWiT Plus bonus feed and live video streams while we're recording. And don't forget the fantastic members-only Discord. It's where passionate tech fans like you and me hang out, swap ideas, and connect directly with all of our hosts. It's my favorite social network. I think you'll like it too. Club TWiT. It's not just a subscription. It's how you support what we do and become part of the TWiT family. Your membership directly supports the network, helping us stay independent and keep making the shows you love. If you're ready to upgrade your tech podcast experience, head to twit.tv/clubtwit and join us today. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you in the club.